go.
I don't know why I'm dancing.
Facebook, hello.
Oh,
We're
hello
live.
there, Facebook.
Hi,
I didn't see you
Facebook.
there. Do you come here very
Ryan.
often to Facebook?
I know I don't.
I
I'm
use
on-
that line every time, and it gets funnier every time.
I'm on Facebook every single day. I'm on Facebook more than my mom.
Oh my god.
Not to
One small step for man, one giant leap for college radio.
You're listening to 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, in case anyone needed this information. And depending on your flavor, it is either Cinco de Mayo or Revenge of the 5th. But this is the Morning Buzz. I'm your host, Philippe. I'm here with my co-host, Ryan, and our newscaster, Hallie. You might notice that Danny is not here. She's going back. She's working again. She's back on her shifts, and they interfere with her morning buzz. So Ryan's gonna step in. And how are you doing this morning, Ryan?
Doing pretty good, I'm always glad to be on air because it's Annabella. I can feel her eyes rolling in the background every time somebody says I can't come out, and I bust into the room saying I can fill in. So, but no, I love being on air with you guys.
Oh, yeah, it's
thanks
fun.
for having me.
But this morning, we're going to be talking about hazard pay for NJ frontline workers, Montclair State's new social media campaign, murder hornets, and string theory. But first, let's throw it over to the newscast.
Good morning. After 2 months of complete shutdown, Italy has finally started to reopen. Restaurants have just been granted access to pickup orders, and funerals would only allow 15 attendees. In response to the reopen, the Prime Minister of Italy said that for reopening to work, the country must come together and follow all social distancing requirements and continue to wear masks. He said, quote, like never before, the future of our country will be in our hands, end quote. Back in the U.S., President Trump is estimating the coronavirus death toll will be closer to 100,000. President Trump said, quote, look, we're going to lose anywhere from 75,000 to 80,000 to 100,000 people. That's a horrible thing, end quote. Meantime, White House Coronavirus Task Force member Dr. Deborah Birx stated the toll could be significantly higher, between 100,000 and 240,000 deaths in the U.S. as originally estimated. In New Jersey, Phil Murphy declared that all New Jersey schools, public and private, are to stay closed for the rest of the academic year. In lighter news, Governor Murphy has initiated a very small step in reopening the state, allowing parks and golf courses to reopen. Finally, it's about 50 degrees and sunny here in Kingwood. How is it where you guys are? Let me know.
It's not as warm as I was hoping it would be.
It really isn't. Right now in Newark, it's also 50. We got, thankfully, a high of 62 and a low of 48 later.
Yeah.
But mostly cloudy for today. Sunset's around 8 o'clock, so that's nice. We get a little extra sunlight outside.
You guys are lucky. It's about 46 degrees here in Bernardsville.
It's
colder.
Could be worse. It could be worse. It could be under 40.
I missed that 75 and no cloud weather we had on Sunday.
Yeah, I was outside the entire day.
Oh,
social distancing, of course.
Yes, exactly. Social distancing.
Visited my grandparents for the first time in close to 2 months. We were in their backyard and they sat at a table like 6 feet away while everyone else sat at a table near me. And we talked and we caught up because it's been a very long time since we've seen each other. But you got to do what you got to do. And parks obviously opened this past weekend. I remember my grandparents live across the street from the park, and I mentioned before the show, there was a lot of people at the park. Not everyone social distancing, not everyone wearing masks, and the Essex County Police, who take care of they're the arm of law enforcement that takes care of the parks, was driving around either telling people to go home if they weren't wearing a mask or social distancing, or ensuring people were social distancing. So we'll see where this goes in terms of these current soft opening that we're having right now.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious how Phil Murphy basically described this as a test, because it reminds me of like a parent kind of telling their their kids, like, you can have one cookie, but if I catch you in the cookie jar again, no more cookies. But it's like, honestly, I feel like we kind of need it because
Mhm.
people are getting social distancing fatigue.
Mhm.
That's what they're calling it on the news, and it's hard.
You can have
Yeah.
a little bit of outside time as a treat.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
we can go outside, we can have recess for a little bit,
It's
but
also
then you
like,
have to go back and learn math or whatever.
yeah, and there's so many people. Like, I was in a meeting with my job yesterday because I'm taking a class through them, and it's a gym. So
Mhm.
they were like, we're hoping we'll open by like June 1st. And I work in the childcare portion. So I was like, bringing your kids in, I was like, that might be a little bit too crazy once
Yeah.
they first open, because childcare is not going to be open first. And they're like, well, mostly people just want to be out of their house. And I was like, believe me, I understand that. I
Yeah.
get that. But you have to just follow the guidelines. And
Mhm.
like, yeah, some people might think they look like ridiculous with the mask on, whatever. It's like everyone has to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it
I
comes down
can't.
to people not liking to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Yeah.
people, that's where people draw the line. Like 100% most people would be fine with social distancing if they felt like they voluntarily had to do it. But A, there are people that won't voluntarily do it, and B, you have to enforce it somehow. So that's barring these protests we're having, which are a whole other animal that we've discussed
Oh
before.
man.
We've discussed before, and we've got into the details of some of the sketchy stuff going
Mhm.
on. But barring that, most people, I think, comes down to, well, I don't like being told what to do, and they'll
That's
just kind
just,
of
I can't.
Don't even get me started on the protests.
um
Adult children. That's all I'm gonna say.
really. But we're gonna go into this article from 101.5. But it talks about NJ residents without symptoms getting COVID-19 tests, and it talks about who would be getting testing. Oh, that was a weird inflection I put on the word, but who would be getting testing, and how you would be able to get testing if you weren't if you didn't have any symptoms, or if you didn't even know if you were um, you know actually exposed to it. We have what's her name? Judith Priscelli. She's the state health commissioner, and she was talking about the kind of testing. Right now, it's to ensure they have full testing coordination with New Jersey's federally qualified health centers. They're planning mobile testing for, quote, inner city populations that do not have access to drive-through or walk-up sites, end quote. Sending vans in there. The highest priority would be residents not showing symptoms, but also who have been in contact with people that have been confirmed to have coronavirus. I can't find my mouse on the screen. I'm like switching between windows, and then like the mouse is just like, you're never going to see where I am. But I think it's important. I think it's important because obviously we start out with the testing for people who have symptoms and
Mhm.
people who you can clearly look at them and you're like, yeah, you probably have coronavirus. We'll test you. But to switch over to actually testing people who have at the very least been in contact can help, moving towards a process of tracing and making sure we can see, where you've been, who you've been around, how we're going to be able to keep this under control. And it's a good step towards eventually easing restrictions more and more and having a system in place where you can have people who have either had the virus before, or people who are more well equipped to deal with it in terms of their immune system, as well as making sure if you have an area that has a high infection rate or an area that has a high amount of people that are sick, you can control basically who goes where and what goes where. As much as some people may not like it, but we have to do these things.
Yeah, and I mean, also one thing I'm a little, I don't necessarily want to say worried about, but it, I'm just hoping that people aren't using or aren't going to use this as a way to kind of, I don't know, like ease their panic in not the way that, what I mean by that is people will, I guarantee you, if these were like, if you could get a test on like just the shelf at the store, at your local CVS or whatever, it would be sold out all the time.
Mhm.
So I hope people don't use this as an example, as a way to go get tested like weekly
Mhm.
because they're panicking about this. You need to understand, like, if you're social distancing, you get tested once, hopefully you won't have it, and you won't need to worry about having it for a while.
Yeah, and if
do.
if it's the government vetting this, and specifically in this case, we're talking about the New Jersey state government, we already know that their first step is to make sure it's people who have been in contact with someone that has coronavirus.
Yeah.
So like we could have someone who pulls up and they're like, "Yeah, I want to test," and they're like, "Okay, so have you been around anyone who has coronavirus?" And they're like, "No,
Yeah. No, but I need a test.
I want to test."
I felt the scratch in my throat the
It's
other
like,
day.
and not to mention some people still don't understand what really consists of symptoms. There'll be people be like, "Oh, well, I was feeling tired, I was feeling this, I was feeling that." It's like, all right, did you check what the symptoms are? Did you check different online resources from the state government, the federal government, the CDC,
Yeah.
Google, other organizations? Like the amount of actual checklists where you can try and self-diagnose to have like an initial idea of what you're dealing with, and then to move forward to go to actual testing and to work with an actual professional to see if you're sick or not. Like people don't even go there. People just kind of like
Yeah.
sit at home and like, I don't feel okay. I have coronavirus. Let me go get tested.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's really important. Like if you are feeling like ill or don't just assume you have coronavirus. A huge part of this social distancing thing is because people are like stuck inside. You might be feeling stuffy or run down or like extra tired lately. That's a huge thing I've been noticing in a lot of my friends is everybody's feeling I feel like it's safe to say pretty much everybody's feeling tired lately, even though we're not doing anything. Why? It's because half of us are in sweatpants, for 80% of the day. Or yeah, raise hand here.
Right here.
Sir.
And or we're like inside working from home. Even if you do get dressed, you're pretty much like just in a very relaxing environment. So it's normal to feel um I think more tired as of recently. Just make sure that like you're getting some kind of exercise. You can work out in home. All in high school, I did martial arts. I didn't really ever go to the gym, and I did pretty much all my working out from home or on a mat. It's easy stuff you can do, but yeah, definitely get like don't just go and get tested if if it's near you, um, and like that you haven't been around anybody. So like for example, if a test came to me, I probably wouldn't go get tested. Why? Because I'm assuming there are other people who need the test more than I do. So I'm not going to clog up the line.
Mhm.
And I haven't been near anybody. I've been sitting at home.
I think
So yeah, there are other ways to alleviate anxiety other
yeah,
than just going to get a test.
yeah, mental health is another important thing because that
Mhm.
what people sometimes don't understand about mental health is that just to kind of like wrap up this topic, it affects your physical health too.
Yes.
If you're in enough mental anguish, enough stress, it can translate to actual physical symptoms. um your body gets to a point where it doesn't understand how to process maybe some of the fatigue, some of the stress, some of the just general bad feelings you have, and your brain is just like, okay, so I guess we're in pain.
Yeah.
And then you'll feel your body fatigue and you'll feel your body pain. So really try to find ways to mitigate that. I know, easier said than done. If you're able to reach out to a mental health professional, do that. uh, Obviously in-person sessions are preferable, but digital sessions can do a pretty good job of
Mhm.
doing what you can. Like I see a therapist weekly, and I'm seeing my therapist through Zoom right now. It's not the same as actually driving out to the office and sitting down with her and talking, but it's much better than nothing. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that people need to think about. Staying with
Exactly.
101.5, they also have an article about all frontline workers would get hazard pay under a new New Jersey representative bills. Um, New Jersey representative proposed federal legislation with extra $15 an hour on top of their regular pay in terms of hazard pay. The representative said, quote, "These frontline workers not only deserve more money, but we need to make sure their work environment is safe." Um, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the Essential Pay for Essential Workers Act, which calls for workers previously paid at $10 an hour to receive 25 per hour, during the coronavirus outbreak describes eligible workers who provide services in healthcare, food and agriculture, energy, water and wastewater, transportation, public works, communication and information technology, critical manufacturing, hazardous materials, shelter facilities, and services, law enforcement, and hygiene products. End quote. That's some of the information in the bill itself. Obviously, not the full bill because we're not reading legal jargon here on the
buzz.
on the buzz. We're willing to talk string theory.
Yeah, we'll talk string theory, but no
gosh.
legal.
Not
jargon.
legal jargon. We'll leave that to the
Yeah.
lawyers. But
However, there is a reality where we do talk legal jargon.
oh god, is this starting?
Ryan.
He's right. though.
Starting again.
But seriously, I think this is important. Obviously, for people who are in this situation where they're working and they're putting themselves at risk, whether they're in the worst case scenario of actually dealing with sick people in hospitals and different healthcare facilities, or just someone who's on the street doing construction. I know my uncle's doing a lot of construction work.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like when people think frontline workers, a lot of the frontline workers that, are on the news, obviously deservingly so, are nurses and doctors, but also there's like frontline workers, people who just show up to do their job bagging groceries and, whatever. Or
Janitorial staff.
yeah, or like, we talked about this on the buzz a few weeks ago, but just people who are like pumping your gas. I mean, like if they're out doing their job in any way, whatever their job is, that's a frontline worker.
Postal service is a big
Exactly.
one. I mailed out a
Postal
package.
service is massive.
I mailed
Think
out
of
a
how
package.
much stuff they have to touch.
The mail services are slowed down. We're constantly seeing news information about how slowed down the U.S. Postal Service has become. And aside from the fact the U.S. Postal Service has already dealt with a lot of issues over the past few decades or so, but on top of that, the current situation, if you walk into a post office now, I mean, I was there this weekend and there was already a line of 10 people and they're limiting it to 10 people inside the building at a time, not counting postal workers. It's a lot of stuff going on. And it is very unfortunate that they're not thought of as an essential frontline worker when they are people, anyone that's delivering packages to you, anyone that's, the trash collectors, like they're coming out, they're working day in and day out to make sure your trash is being picked up, and that's such an essential service right there. Like what are we going to do, not have our trash picked up and have it piled up on the streets, and we're going to start look like New York out of a 90s movie?
Oh gosh.
Or New York out of a 2000s movie or a 2010s movie.
Or any movie at this
or
point.
Literally any movie.
Or a live shot of New York City in the middle of the day.
Exactly.
Look, we love New York, but we're
we love New York.
We love trashing on New Jersey.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Facts.
I gotcha.
But yeah, I think it's important. I think I have a friend who works in a hospital, but he works as literally like basically a secretary. He inputs information, he takes down insurance and everything like that. But he's constantly in contact with people who could possibly have the coronavirus. He was working in a tent at one point outside the hospital, and he's just constantly stressed. Like there's some days where he comes from work and he just kind of sends our group chat a text message saying like, I'm about to lose it, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So
like I was talking to my friend the other day. She lives in Canada, but she works at fast food, and she was telling me, obviously a lot of fast food places, they're cutting down on their menu, and she's like, not only do I have to deal with like exchanging money and credit card and whatever with people like every day, but I also have to deal with them complaining that we don't have a burger. And I'm sitting here thinking like, sir, you could have COVID and you wouldn't know, and here I am getting it while you're complaining to me that
exactly.
Oh, we don't have our junior patties. Like,
sorry, sir. I
sorry,
apologize.
sir.
I'm
making minimum wage. I'm making minimum wage to put my life at risk because I need to pay my rent. Like, and I think, but that's also a nice thing. It's even in this, time, a lot of these services, like these frontline workers, might not make a lot. So it's nice to see that, it just, at least in New Jersey, that they're getting a little extra.
Yeah,
because a lot of these jobs, like food people, again, you go to McDonald's, they might not be paying you minimum wage, but you're not making $20 an hour. I hate to break it to anybody out
No,
there.
not at all.
You're a lot of
Minimum
them are,
wage. We had what minimum wage come up to $10 recently here in New Jersey. And
yeah,
the
but
goal is to at some
like
point reach 15.
that's depending on where you are, and especially in New Jersey, for a lot of people, it's like scraping by to pay rent, depending on where you live. So
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to see that that these people are getting a little more appreciation.
Yeah. I guess on the theme of that kind of stuff and appreciation, we
Yeah.
have something coming out of Montclair State specifically. This is an article from the Patch. Montclair State University, arms open wide for nurses. So we have Amanda Steinberg. She is a nursing student on campus who has helped launch a social media campaign called hashtag Give a Nurse a Hug for allnurses.com. It's a career support and news site. It's interesting. It's interesting to see. It's fun to see that the fact that Montclair is getting involved, and you have Montclair students trying to make a difference for this. And there's it's really crazy. Like we have the story of Ivana Banco, who is a school nurse in Patterson. She finished her final classes at the BSN program here at Montclair State, and she is now working at a testing center in Cedar Grove, New Jersey, and she's going above and beyond what she needs to do. And this program itself, to be able to reach out to nurses and reach out to healthcare workers and people on campus, that is started by a student here at Montclair State specifically, really shows people are willing to do something nice. And even if you can't sit there and you can't afford to donate PPE, you can't afford to send in donations or anything, if you can do just like a nice gesture, show some sort of mental support, emotional support, because you may not, to some degree, I really do think that it is important to give out the financial support. Like you got, like at the end of the day, you got it. We need money to pay for all this stuff. But if you can't do that, and you can at least take time out of your day to do something, a gesture to show people that who are day in day out dealing with people that are sick, that are dying, and to feel that kind of support and know that there are people back home basically cheering you on. And
it's awesome.
Like, I imagine that it's not going to make you feel perfect at the end of the day. You're not going to get home and think, well, today was miserable, but hey, someone tweeted at me, so that's great. Obviously, you're not going to think that. But I think to have in the back of your head to know there are people that actually see what you're doing and have some sort of level of just respect and appreciation for you, it has to help you make you feel that much better, so that you get home and maybe you're not completely depressed. Maybe you feel like what you're doing is worth it because people
even if it's just like you're whatever, you had a horrible day as a nurse, as a any kind of frontline, any kind of frontline worker, but specifically a nurse. And a lot of them don't get breaks, but say you have like a 3 minute like break to go to the bathroom, whatever, eat. A lot of them are skipping meals and just glance at your phone. And a lot of it's stuff like that where they just glance at their phone, and if they see like, oh, like 5 people I know in my town just tweeted this really nice thing at me, it even just like that one like little 3-minute break where it gives them like positivity, that like helps them say like, all right, I can do this, and they go back out there and they help. This is really hard on our nurses and whatnot. It's obviously hard for everybody else. We talked about mental health earlier, everybody being quarantined and people getting quarantine fatigue and various ways, but this is also hard for the nurses. I mean, think about they are working now. And I had this conversation actually with my dad the other day, where like, some people are making the argument, well, this is what they signed up for, obviously, to be a nurse, and it's like, they signed up for a very difficult job, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve like extra appreciation in a time like this, when their job, as hard as it was in the beginning, just got 1,000 times harder.
And I'll take it a step further and say I don't think any nurse signed up for specifically a pandemic. Any
No,
doctor.
I don't think anybody signed up for a pandemic, but I think they did. It is like they signed up for a hard job, but obviously, probably not anything this hard.
Like I imagine it's going to be an interesting conversation once we are able to move forward from this pandemic and everything starts calming down a little more. It's going to be an interesting conversation seeing if nurses push for compensation for what they went through,
Yeah.
and to see if the discourse surrounding that, and if people will sit there and sympathize with them, or people will sit there and try to make the conversation about these nurses that are taking advantage of a pandemic to benefit, which I'm kind of worried that from certain groups and from certain demographics, specifically more conservative leaning groups, that they'll see this as them trying to take something serious and profit off of it, when truly it's kind of like you sit there and you're like, yeah, these people deserve to say like,
Yeah.
they get compensation for what they went through, because it's rough, it's difficult. I mean, some nurses have died in the line of duty, and some doctors have died in the line of duty, and others have just been brought to the brink. And we've heard some awful stories.
Yeah, and you always will. And the biggest problem about that conversation too is you always will have those people who are literally just trying to make a profit off it.
Mhm.
Ambulance chasers. We are seeing so many
yeah.
of them right now. Cough, cough. People suing universities. Cough. Sorry, had something in my throat.
It's all right. It's all right. I understand.
Yeah, but you always will have those ambulance chasers, I think, and those people are the ones who kind of make this whole conversation a problem, because it's true, not everybody is going to be, if they do seek compensation, not everybody's going to be doing it because they want to make a profit. They want to do it because whatever, they were a nurse, one of their friends caught COVID, or one of their coworkers got COVID and possibly passed away from it, and they had to deal with it every single day while working, and they deserve compensation. And then you may also have the nurse that's like in the middle of nowhere in a state that doesn't have a lot of things, but says, oh, it was a traumatizing experience to hear about all the nurses, I want $500,000 or whatever.
Yeah, I want to make it clear. I think the people always have a interesting take on what compensation is. I'm not talking about people suing, although I do feel like for some situations we're going to see some lawsuits with the way nurses.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I think we are going to see people suing, but just general compensation, like
in terms of better benefits, better treatment, and even just like even things like back pay. Because some hospitals, honestly, you can imagine these nurses aren't getting paid extra just because of. I understand that we don't have as much money as we had before because of the fact that a lot of the economy is stopped. But I digress. It's going to be interesting to see going forward. But since we are talking about Montclair State, our university president, Dr. Susan A. Cole, she released a video yesterday encouraging students to, quote, stay strong, unquote, and that she's looking forward to seeing everyone coming this fall. The video had a nice, fun May the 4th touch, since, yesterday was May the 4th. We see Rocky wielding a lightsaber, quotes from Star Wars beloved characters, and we have quotes matched to juniors and graduating seniors. So we can take a quick look at the video and really see what we're talking about.
Hello, Red Hawks. I'm on the campus of Montclair State University, and let me tell you, I miss you. I miss you so much. Being here on this empty campus tells me more than ever before that the whole life and heart and soul and energy of this campus is all about its students. And so I can't wait to have you back here. I am so proud of everything that you've been doing this semester, working hard, getting those classes finished, trying to stay together. You've just been doing a terrific job, and I want you to stay strong, and I want you to keep doing it and finish the semester, and maybe even take an online course this summer. And then, before we know it, the fall will be here, and we are doing everything we can to try and make sure that we can be back on campus this fall together and going on with our university life. So stay strong, and I will see you in the fall. Thank you. And now, over to Rocky.
And for you audio listeners, this is Rocky in a dark room with a green lightsaber doing some like mad lightsaber skills. Yeah. So and now we have some Star Wars quotes, you know, never tell me the odds, Han Solo, and knowing all can be overwhelming, focus on what you can control by one of class of 2020. Your focus determines your reality, and put your best efforts into being positive. This will lead you to persevere and achieve your goals. So we're seeing like these popular Star Wars quotes match up with quotes from we have from seniors. I like this one. The force is not a power you have, it's the energy between all things, a balance that binds the universe together. And it's important to remember that we are in this together now and forever. We are responsible for the life we live and how it affects others. So it's cool to see these quotes matching up. I have a little critique of the video, though. I'm gonna be honest.
Is it going to be just a complete Star Wars critique, though?
No, I am
Okay.
not a Star Wars nerd whatsoever.
You're missing out.
However, it is a critique, and it is a genuine question. Do you guys believe she was actually on campus?
I hope
'Cause
she
I'm
wasn't.
gonna be honest.
I hope she wasn't, just in terms of social distancing. You know.
Well, yeah, but I have done a lot of video stuff and a lot of photography, and that lighting and that like the background and everything, it does not look like she's on campus to me. It looks like the background is like CGI'd.
You know, maybe she is, but Ryan.
Give
What?
credit though. Give
No,
credit
I'll
though.
give her mad credit.
Give
It
credit
just-
though.
it-
It takes a good eye for video production and filming and everything like that to notice it. Because I imagine if, you know, some Joe Schmo not Joe Schmo, but someone else who isn't part of the school
Just a normal,
communication.
someone who just doesn't do video stuff.
Is
The
gonna
reason I pointed out is it bothers me, like if she's not on campus and she's saying she's on campus.
It's just such a nitpick, but it's something that really just kind of gets you. You know what I
Well,
mean?
No, I think the reason it bothers me is because we're seeing all these people, and again, this is she very well could be on campus, and it was just a really weird like camera setting and whatnot. She has been on campus a lot. Annabella is saying she's gonna
And
be
she
in
will be in
Studio
Studio
A
A, yeah.
at WMSC tomorrow.
It could be a situation where she had to film that. If it wasn't filmed on campus, it could just be a situation where she had to film it real quick, couldn't get on campus, so they just threw up something in the background. Or it's just, there are plenty of times where I've seen, especially in movies and stuff, where it really doesn't look like they're on set or in the actual location, but it's just some weird, strange.
It's like just it's a
The
weird
lighting.
background thing, or the lighting or whatever. But anyways, so the reason it would bother me if she's not on campus is because we're currently living in a world where everything now has this, you know, made at home aesthetic, for lack of a better word, to it. And I feel like, you know, if she's not on campus, like, dude, just embrace the made at home aesthetic, you know, film it in your living room, whatever, you know, and with nice lighting and whatnot.
Like, I think my biggest, I am starting to get sick of that made at home aesthetic. Like,
really,
like on Food Network.
Oh yeah,
what's her name? The comedian.
Amy
Schumer.
Yes, that's
she's doing a cooking show because on Food Network from home, because her husband is a chef, and I'm just like, I could really use like 0% of Amy Schumer in my life at all points. Like I can't stand her
Wow.
as a
You are not
comedian.
the only person in my life
What?
that has said that.
I can't stand her. I really can't. Plus, like, just give me more Guy Fieri cooking at home with his son. Like that's all I need.
Guy
Like,
Take
Fieri,
him to
yeah.
Flavor
Like-
Town.
like we were watching
Flavor Town.
just like every night we'll watch Jeopardy and then we'll watch a couple episodes of Guy's Grocery Games. And
Yeah, that's a good show. I do
Which
like a lot of the cooking shows.
and what Guy Fieri did, he did 2 nights of he got in touch with some old people that showed up on diners, drive-ins, and dives and be like, hey, cook up something that you guys do in your store that wasn't on the episode that we did or something new, and cook it
Yeah.
up live, and we'll
It was
have a
what they
crew
call it.
working.
It was diners, drive-ins, and dives to go.
Yes,
and,
which is
yeah.
such a great name to begin with.
It was, yeah.
But just kind of wrapping up this point of Montclair State, like it's important to see the work that we're doing. It's important to see what everyone on campus is trying to do, whether it's
Yeah.
production, to toot our own horn, what we're doing at home, and we're simulcasting, and we're doing it on whether Facebook Live or YouTube, uploading it later in the day, as well as doing stuff on air through the help of Annabella and Adam, just being absolute titans of broadcasting, and of course. We're talking about different parts of campus where they were making ventilator tubes with
The printing lab.
printing lab making ventilator tubes and face shields. Like whether it's physical product that we really need to get out to frontline workers, or even something like content that we're putting out, that the production teams are putting out, that the TV team's putting out, news team is putting out. We're all doing something on campus, and whether or not President Cole was actually on campus that day, she's been on campus. She's been doing a lot of work trying to keep us informed.
Yeah, I do want to
And-
make that clear that she has been on campus, and I'm not saying that she hasn't been, but
It's not a
video's just weird to me.
it's not a criticism of President Cole as a president. It is a criticism of just TV production and video production, because we are a little bit of we are sticklers for that kind of stuff. If
Yeah.
we hear audio that doesn't sound great, I will criticize it to no end.
Exactly.
Like between myself, Tara, and our friend Liam, our friend Liam does a lot of music production and stuff. If we hear any audio that isn't good and there's anything remotely wrong with it, we're going to tear it apart,
Yeah.
because that's just kind of how we are.
Now let's be honest though. The sound design behind Rocky using a lightsaber was like
Oof.
I was pretty on point. They got it with this every time he swooshed, it did the swoosh. It
Also,
was pretty good.
just the choreography that Rocky had to learn for that. Like,
Oh man, he's got like
are you talking
mad
about?
skills. If you haven't seen this video,
Oh.
did you see,
What
like,
are you
the
talking about? This
lightsaber
comes
skills?
to Rocky. Yeah, but this comes to Rocky naturally.
But that's what I'm
Guys
saying.
don't
Yeah, it does.
understand
it's his
that.
talent. Like
Yeah.
me and Blake, when we were still doing the Buzz on campus, we got to interview Rocky one day, and honestly, just probably the biggest personality in the room. He walks in, he has control of the room, all eyes on him.
Oh
you know?
yeah.
Not even we couldn't even focus on finding Frank Ocean. It was just Rocky. Rocky was the central piece of that day, and his handler can only do so much to convey who Rocky is as a person, because you can't really put Rocky into words. It's kind of hard.
Exactly.
Rocky
It's
is
more of an experience.
the Rocky experience.
Yeah.
But let's bounce into this next story. We have Billy Joe Armstrong has been doing what he calls No Fun Mondays, where he records a cover of a different song every Monday, and produces his own little video for it. And this past Monday, he recorded a cover of Kids in America as a birthday gift to his band, his bassist Mike Dirnt. It's fun. It's cool. Like, you have different people doing different pieces of content, putting them out there, having people entertaining. The song Kids in America was originally performed by Kim Wilde, then later the Muffs, and it was specifically recorded for Dirnt's 48th birthday.
I can't believe he's 48. Like, that's so weird to me.
All these
Yeah.
punk rock bands.
we have the song actually queued up.
All these punk rock bands are so old, but we have the song pulled up. We'll play a little bit of you, at least what we can. But
Yeah.
that is Mike
for-
Dirnt
it's-
as a unicorn.
Exactly. It shows him as a unicorn, kind of
Rocking out.
animated or like overlaid, playing the bass. which is hilarious.
and Billy Joe just writing out the lyrics.
Yeah,
It's a great
in
song.
classic punk rock fashion.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like the fact that these guys are in their 40s, 50s, and they're still rocking and everything is great, and it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
testament to punk rock.
Yeah. Now,
Um,
sadly, we can't play the full song, really, and we can't play much of it at all. But
yeah, you know,
for-
DMCA, FCC, and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
But for those of you who are interested, who are listening in on iHeartRadio and 90.3 FM, you can check out the little video that we're showing live on Facebook or on YouTube later today.
Yeah, you can. But I think it's cool. Like again, we have different celebrities putting together different contents. We had recently, they did a Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
They did a Parks and Rec read,
Oh,
a full
my parents
episode.
watched that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as long as it's something that fans want to hear and
Yeah.
want to see,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. Because I remember there was a lot of criticism there was the Imagine cover that they did with a bunch of celebrities that people were very much up in arms about because it kind of came off as like, oh, this is what people want to hear, as opposed to sitting down and listening to social media and seeing what people want. Like the New Jersey charity stream that they did with different
Jersey for Jersey.
Jersey for Jersey, like that is something that people did ask for. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the
Yeah.
highlight of the night was Danny DeVito. Personally, I love Danny DeVito.
Oh.
He went to my
Danny
high school.
DeVito,
I
so
like
weird.
Jersey for Jersey. I feel like it could have been done better.
Yeah,
It felt like a PSA to me, but you know,
to be honest, some people do need a PSA like that.
it's true.
If
It-
we're gonna
I
be
like-
100% real.
it is needed.
I like Jersey for Jersey, but I was a bigger fan of the Disney sing along guys.
Oh,
not
all
gonna
right, yeah,
lie.
that was
Ariana
pretty
Grande
fire.
Singing Hercules
Oh, I don't like her.
and doing all the. I'm sorry, I know, but doing all the parts
No, it's fine.
herself. I'm a huge Ariana Grande fan. If that wasn't, I'm
Well,
getting.
It's perfectly fine. So here's the thing. And
But
this
she
so
did all the parts herself, and I was like, that's something that not a lot
Philippe.
of artists can do.
yeah, she's a good singer. She's a very good singer.
Philippe, what did you just say?
I don't like Ariana Grande. What? So I will always preface my opinions with celebrities and everything, and say that I will lambast and criticize a celebrity to no end unless they are doing something that is incredibly immoral and incredibly wrong.
Yeah.
What I say doesn't matter about what you like of a celebrity or
Yeah,
not. Like,
no.
you
So
know, if you're-
Amanda in the background did just point out, Ariana Grande is heavily auto-tuned a lot, which I cannot stand.
she's a very good singer. There's no reason
That's
for her
a
to
She
be
really-
is
auto-tuned.
that's
That's
the one
a
thing that
really
bothers me about her
hard-
is she's a very good singer and she doesn't need to be auto-tuned, but like most of her songs are auto-tuned.
That's a
I don't
really hard
understand.
topic for me to be on because if you listen to her live music,
Mm.
she is nearly spot on.
I think what
Which
it
is
comes down
what-
to is just like industry practices,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
almost like a necessity to auto-tune people, and I'm just kind of like, but why?
It's more to auto-tune pop singers though.
Yeah, because
That's-
I
You
guess
see
there's
it
a
more
certain
in pop music.
veneer. There's
Yeah.
a certain veneer that people think you need to have to pop music,
Mhm.
and to me, at least my personal opinion, if you're going to use auto-tune, use it to achieve a certain effect that isn't just making it sound poppy. Like if you're going to use auto-tune, use it for things like a robotic voice or making
Yeah.
or even like or things like talk boxes. God, I love talk. When a song uses a talk box, stuff like what Weezer song uses a talk box?
I
forget
know
which one.
it's not coming to me, but I
It's
feel
one
like
of them.
yeah, it's like if you're gonna use auto-tune, at least like understand that you're using it for an auto-tune aesthetic in a sense, you know,
Yes.
like because people are gonna know that it's auto-tune. Like
Yeah.
I think anyone who listens to a lot of music can very easily tell if something's auto-tuned. Like
Mhm.
even if it's subtly, just that one inflection where it literally sounds like a fader going from here to here.
Yes.
You know, it's
That's
like
I
it's
had-
very easy to point out. So if you're gonna go for auto-tune, I say crank the auto-tune up to like 110 and make it part of the like aesthetic of the song you're going
yeah,
for.
exactly.
sometimes like I'll put like the slightest bit of auto-tune, but that's not for it to correct my notes. It's not enough where it corrects the notes. There's like sometimes you can mess with it and it'll do a different effect rather than edit your notes. But there was one time I was recording a song for an EP and I took auto-tune off completely because the way I was singing, my already like the inflection I had already put from me singing sounded like auto-tune. And I was like, if someone comes back and says that that's auto-tuned, it's not. It's solely just how I sang it. And I to this day, I don't know how I did it.
And depending on the genre and everything, imperfection or perfection works better. For
Yeah.
example, Amanda, working behind the scenes right now is dropping some things. And the first thing she said was, one of the things she said is that imperfection is beautiful. And I think for a lot of music, the veneer of auto-tune works, pop music being one of them, and electronic music in general. But when you have things like punk rock, and other genres that are very much on the idea of imperfection and the idea of, really sounding raw and gritty, that's when you just can't touch auto-tune. Unless you're going for an effect, that's when you kind of want to avoid auto-tune.
That's why, I don't usually touch auto-tune at all. My thing is I think when you listen to a lot of pop music, you assume that when you sing pop music, your voice is going to be really smooth. It's going to be from note to note. In reality, that if you do sing like that, that must be a gift because I don't. So
I will say
a lot of people can't. Yeah.
I will say, if you're using auto-tune is to maybe touch up a note or a line that you messed up on, but you don't want to redo the entire take. Because I can imagine if you do like a 2-3 minute long take and everything's perfect except for one little bit that kind of your voice cracks a little bit, I can see people just be like, I'll just auto-tune, smooth it over, and no one will notice.
Yeah, but also depending on the song, wouldn't that be cool? Say your voice breaks at the end, depending on the song.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest one is when I listen to Johnny Cash do cover "Hurt" by Nine Inch Nails. That song,
which is practically his song, by the way.
Trent Reznor has literally said, the singer from Nine Inch Nails, has said, that song doesn't belong to me.
Yeah, he's like, that's just his song at this point.
But that songs like that, and even Nine Inch Nails version of it, the imperfections in that song is really what make it and the way it sounds. Before we move on the topic, a fun fact: whenever they perform "Hurt" live now, Nine Inch Nails does it acoustically like Johnny Cash would have. So I saw that at PNC Bank Arts Center a few years ago. It was Soundgarden and Nine Inch Nails, and Nine Inch Nails finished their set completely with "Hurt," and they turned off all the lights, all the effects, all the strobing, and just a single spotlight in the center.
Yep.
Trent Reznor playing an acoustic guitar, singing "Hurt." So that is one of the best arguments that I have against auto-tune in general.
Yep.
But
why shouldn't you use auto-tune? Insert music video of "Hurt."
But I will say it has its place in the industry, and I don't think I won't use it against an artist for that.
Pop artists have more leeway.
Yeah. If we're gonna stick on the topiart of New Jersey, we know that I'm a big fan of the Devils. If
called a
segue. A segue, it's that thing Paul Blart rides it in Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Paul Blart Mall Cop. But speaking of New Jersey and Paul Blart Mall Cop, here's a segue to Devils give ticket holders refund.
But this is important. I think this is a good thing.
It's cool.
They not only have they given, so either you have 3 different choices. One, you can get a complete refund of all your ticket prices.
Yeah.
Pretty standard fare. A second one, and this is if you have season ticket ownership, you can get credit for tickets going in the future, which is great. And then the third choice is where you can move. So season tickets work as payment plans, and you can move all your money from a season ticket plan this year, because most likely the season will continue without fans, to next year. And then you either get $100 towards merch, $150 towards concessions, a signed stick, or an extra 50% towards credit next season. But the biggest thing that they've done is that they're donating tickets to RWJ Barnabas, people that work in the front line at RWJ Barnabas Health and St. Barnabas Hospital. they're putting aside tickets specifically for those frontline workers, and specifically for you to basically, if you choose to either move your funds to the next season and apply to it, or get credit for next season, it's also on top of that, your choice is granting tickets to frontline workers and a guest at no cost to you. The Devils are completely covering the cost of that. So meaning that, for example, if you, Ryan, you had season tickets and you decided to choose the one where you credit towards it, your choice also gives different people who've been working with WJ Barnabas Health and St. Barnabas tickets for themselves and a guest to go to games with you. Now, I don't know if they're going to sit next to you, which actually would be pretty cool if you go into a game and you choose that and you get to sit next to a frontline worker. But you're getting free tickets for someone who is working day in and day out to keep us healthy and keep us safe. And I think personally, with the way sports team have been handling it, they're doing a good job of making sure paying their workers. The Devils did have a situation where their ownership was going to start furloughing people and cutting costs. And then social media basically dragged them through the mud. And ownership is like, all right, my bad. But which, I give him full credit for responding properly and, going back. But I think that's something good. That's something that they could easily have just compensated their season ticket holders and told them like, hey, you guys can just apply it towards next season because we're most likely not having in-person games. But the fact that they sat there and they took an extra initiative to take money out of their own pockets and really gift people the ability to go to a game, even if they're not a hockey fan, that's a free event right there. That's something you could take time off to go to and see a hockey game, and most likely have some sort of other benefits and some sort of other gift when you get to the arena. Because like we were talking about before with the Hugs for a Nurse, Give Nurses a Hug campaign started by a Montclair nursing student, that's just another thing to kind of remind these people going forward, like, we appreciate you, and it's the little things sometimes that count.
Yeah, and I think it's really awesome because we see like a lot of the sports industry is just like not great lately.
Mm-mm.
And a
Korean
lot of
baseball's back. If you want to watch it at 4 a.m. and see in the middle of one game getting postponed because there's a fire going on in the background.
I love that story.
But
It's ridiculous. But it's hard to see like look, I'm not a sports guy in the slightest, but I do think that just as someone who, well, no, I'm an esports guy, and I understand that like even in esports tournaments, you have an audience, you have a crowd, and you have fans, and I think that them like promising tickets to frontline workers is awesome.
Mhm.
However, there's also that conversation going on of like, we're going to start up seasons without fans.
Mhm.
I don't think that could work. And I feel like this is a better option possibly to have limited tickets and then promise tickets to people who really deserve them.
So I know with the NHL, their current plan is to do the draft before the season is over, which is odd to say the least. And then on top of that, they're not going to be doing games without fans in a normal way. They're going to be choosing a city or a handful of cities where they can host the majority of the rest of the games going forward and do like 3-4 games a day. So like go to like, I don't know, Edmonton or Buffalo or New York. Probably not New York. New York's pretty bad right now with the coronavirus, but a place that isn't hit as hard, and basically just do game after game after game to wrap up the season and do a few games at a time. But there is a reality, I will say, where they don't do games at all and just cancel the season. But that's just string theory for you.
And there's another reality just by talking about this, that by us talking about this show goes viral and they
and the Murder Hornets don't show up.
And the Murder Hornets don't show up.
So just I guess to wrap up the show.
Speaking of Murder Hornets and string theory,
this is an article from New York Times where titled "Murder Hornets in the U.S. The Rush to Stop the Asian Giant Hornet." Sightings of the Asian giant hornet have prompted fears that the vicious insect could establish itself in the United States and devastate the populations. Okay,
these, by the way, are literally nicknamed Murder Hornet.
They are the Asian giant hornet.
They're
They
like
are a
2
hornet, which is related to a wasp, and like Hallie said, they're like this big.
They're like 2 inches big. Like
Yeah.
you can't miss them.
They're
They have been-
massive.
Their stings are compared to just your
Oh,
body heating
I
up.
can't do bugs, man. I
Coyote-
don't know why I vouched for talking about this story. I got a
There-
funny story to wrap the show.
Coyote
too, that
Peterson
Amanda will laugh
is
at.
a guy who does a lot of animal stuff, and one of the things he does is he'll get stung by things, and he's been stung
Yeah.
by it, and he said is one of the worst things you feel. Their venom is strong enough that if multiple of them sting you, you will die. The thing though is that is what
Oh
it
my
looks like.
god!
Stop it.
Oh my
Nope,
god!
I'm out.
Annabella, no!
I'm out.
That thing looks like pure eel. The thing
It
about
looks
that is
It looks like something. From
Somebody
Expect
tell
to
me
Be
when
a
the
Bug.
image is gone. I'm
the
out.
thing
I
about
can't
that thing
do it.
is like it's called a murder hornet because it'll go inside a nest of bees and just kill everything. Like there's in this New York Times article, if you look it up, there's just
Ryan, you can come back. What are
Okay,
you doing?
cool.
it's
See, that's
literally
the perks
just
of having wireless headphones.
like the thing about these things is that they'll sit there and they'll tear the bees apart quite literally. They'll rip their heads from their bodies
Oh, dude, I can't.
and just leave them behind.
That's so BM. That's
Like- Like it's horrifying. And these things, the problem here is that they'd be an invasive species in the U.S. and Canada. That such beeswax. Thank you, Annabella.
I
but
get it.
But the main thing is like,
BM is bad mannered. For
in
all of
order
you
for
people.
someone to die from them stinging, you would have to get stung multiple times.
Yeah.
Yes, but these things
Okay.
will attract other hornets to
Yeah,
their location
that's the
through
problem.
pheromones. It's the same thing with
Oh, I love
their
that.
like
yeah, it's
the thing in Asia is that there's like the Japanese honeybee, for example. They have a defense mechanism against these hornets, and I've mentioned it. I mentioned it before the show. I don't know if Ryan was here, but they will surround 1 or 2 hornets
Mhm.
in a ball of just honeybees.
okay.
They start vibrating at high speeds with their wings and their bodies, slowly cook the hornet on the inside, and then also at the same time suffocate it with the carbon dioxide they create.
Isn't that wild? That's amazing. I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Unfortunately-
Dude, nature is so cool.
We don't have any defense mechanism that our honeybees here in the United States and Canada can deal with. So these things
Oh,
have already been
okay.
found in Washington and British Columbia, so like the Vancouver area, the west coast of Canada. So unless we basically go out and hit them with pesticides and then burn and then torch them, because if you don't get rid of the bodies, the pheromones will attract more.
Yep.
So basically, like in Portugal, they've dealt with these, and my grandfather was telling me stories about how they'll fumigate them. You have to first of all, you have to call the authorities. You cannot take care of this yourself, or else you will die.
Yeah.
They'll call the authorities. They'll fumigate the hives, and then after a while, they'll take down the hives and the bodies, and they'll just torch it.
Yep.
Sounds
So
like fun.
Speaking of torching it, a fun story to wrap the show. Yesterday, I was in a one-on-one meeting talking about the morning buzz with Amanda, and
Oh, I know what.
Amanda, if you would like to chime in for this
Hold
last
on.
second. So, I was in a
I
one-on-one
only
meeting
speak with
her.
voice because my computer's about to die, so that won't be good.
So so her and I are in a meeting, and something flies by my head, and I jump up from my computer and go, "Oh my god, what was that?" And do you want to hear? And Amanda, what did I say to follow?
She said
Following
he said he was like he's like something just flew past my face. I don't know what that was. Minute later, Dad, bring fire.
Or
something.
something.
Can I ask
There was
Ryan?
a wasp in my room,
Iconic.
and I do not know how a wasp got in my room, but there was a wasp in
Well,
my room.
Why fire?
Okay,
Like the best
so
part of it is he didn't even acknowledge it until like 5 minutes later to me. He's like, "Oh, by the way, I don't know if you heard any of that."
yeah, I was like, I don't know if you heard any of that, but I hate wasps. Anyways,
You
why
gotta
fire?
be-
Because as I tweeted Amanda, I am a simple man. I know fire kills things, and bugs are things I really do not like.
So I think those words of wisdom are probably the perfect way to end the show.
To
'cause
wrap the show.
it is the top of the
Wow.
hour. You're listening to 90.3 WMSC at from Montclair. This has been the Morning Buzz. We'll be here again tomorrow, same time, 9 to 10 a.m. And of course, I'll be here back on Thursday with Amanda and Tara. But I want to thank Ryan for stepping in and helping out. Hope Danny's doing well at work, because I can't imagine working right now is fun. But I've been Philippe. This has been Ryan and Hallie with
I've been
me.
Ryan.
Want to thank
Heck
Amanda.
yeah.
Amanda, Annabella, and Adam on the back end working, and thank all our lovely viewers and listeners for tuning in. And I know if you miss a day, I'll find you. I'll make sure you don't miss a day. I'm kidding. I can't find you because
It
I'm
was
supposed to be
so
social
sweet
distancing.
until that point.
And
Quick,
that's the
somebody wrap the
tea,
show.
sis.
Adam, play us out.
But I hope
And
everyone
that's
has a
the
good
tea.
day.
We'll
Everyone
see
has a
y'all
good
next
day.
time.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.